everyone, this is Sally McFadden with the Polka Dot Life. Today we are going to make a card that uses our new in colors, and they are so pretty. I'm sure you've probably seen those colors by now, but I haven't put out a video with any of them, so I wanted to show them to you. This can be a very simple layout, or you can make it more elaborate, whatever your style is, but I wanted you to be able to take it, use what products that you have at home, and make a card to send out to bless someone today. Let's get started on the project. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the product of the month for June. It is the Wild Bunch stamp set, and it looks so fun. I haven't gotten it yet, but you can purchase this for $5 when you spend $75 or more in a single order, and that is before shipping and tax, and after you've applied any rewards that you have. It's not in conjunction with, but you would want to pair it together, is Stampin' Up! Just announced yesterday that they are going to offer free shipping from June 11 through the 13th. And that is also on a $75 minimum order. So that would be a great way to get free shipping and get the product of the month. So that is a great fun thing to keep in mind. I also want to let you know that you're probably going to hear some jingle bells and maybe some little meow cries. I have a new friend. His name is Milo. He could jump up here on my desk and make an appearance for all I know. We have had him for 2 days. So he has been sequestered in my studio because we have 2 adult cats and we have not done an introduction. We're just letting him get adjusted. But if you hear those noises, just know that I'm not crazy, you're not crazy, and it's just what it is right now. So we're just gonna go with it. We are going to start off by doing a little stamping. We have always used our Memento black for when we are going to use the Stampin' Blends, or if you just wanted to stamp a black image, you know, or whatever. Stampin' Up! Has now introduced this basic black hybrid ink. I have played around with it a little bit. The jury's still out on it for me. So you do you. I'm not comfortable yet with this with myself, so I'm not comfortable yet suggesting that you run out and buy this. I've had some success, but I've had a lot of failures too. I think that it was the White Willow that did the best for stamping with me, but I'm just not there yet. And so I am going to put this aside, and I am going with my tried and true friend of my Memento. So I am going to ink this up well, and this is like new with our new Stampin' pads this year with the in colors. It's a felt pad, and you kind of have to tap and walk and get that color good and on there. So we need one of our large flowers. We need one of our smaller, like different petal shape flower. And I'm just using a scrap of basic white that I had because it's just going to be die cut anyway. And here is, we need 2 of these leaves, and I do love these leaves. And I should let you know that these stamps are from the Bloom Boutique set of products. These are the outlines. It is a 2-step stamp. If you wanted to use that to color in, I just chose to use my Stampin' Blends today, which is why I'm just using the outline. We are going to be using the beautiful Hydrangea U. And maybe my new favorite color is this Peaceful Pine. I think that this is going to be great for a lot of things, and particularly at Christmas. I think it's going to be beautiful. I don't know anything, but I would bet that Stampin' Up! Will be using that in a lot of their pattern paper. it's just such a pretty, and it goes nicely with a lot of different things. So I'm going to use the bullet nib, and I am just going to go ahead. You wouldn't have to do both sides, but I just found that I liked the little deeper color on the one side, and I'm just emulating what those two-step stamps do. I'm not always the best at two-step stamping, but I have found that if I practice it for a while, then I do all right. So just keep that in mind if this is a set that you have or one that you're thinking about, if it's kind of holding you back because you're like, I'm not sure. It's actually pretty easy to line up and so on. So with that one, we are letting that, let's just keep going and let that alcohol markers, you kind of have to let it dry if you're not wanting them to mix exactly together. You're better off to do it that way. So let's also do our triple leaf one. You don't need to be, you just don't want it to go outside of the line. I found if you try to stay back off the line, I am not the best at that either. I tend to want to just go right up because I don't like, on some things like leaves, I don't like white space there. Maybe the flowers I do, we're going to do that today. But I do like, and then turn your project to where it works for your hand, where it works for your eye. And there you go. So it's a pretty, pretty color ink. Like I say, it's kind of just a dusty pine color, I guess is how it's a light dusty pine. To me, it reminds me of soft succulent, maybe a little darker. I haven't gotten the two cardstocks out to compare it, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. So this particular, when you do the two-step stamp, it does one side darker to the other. And I really, really liked how that looked. So I am just going to go over with this on this side. And that was the other reason I wanted to let that ink dry so that we could get a nice dark side and a light side. Now this one, I just did the veins, really. I may have blended them on my example just a little bit, but you do what you like. And I may have just let it dry in between and then went over it again with the light, more so maybe to give the leaves a little bit more coverage than to blend that out. So let's compare, because I do have some cut out. I think that's what I did. And then it just kind of naturally blended itself whenever it sat there for a little bit. So let's work on our big main focal point flower. I found that I liked it with the two-step stamping, but I really liked it this way. And so we're starting with the light hydrangea yew, and you will notice like this looks like my fingernail polish here, which when I purchased it at the store, I thought, oh, that's kind of like hydrangea yew, but it is not. This will settle out and dry more of a periwinkle blue than a purple. It does read purple while it's wet, and you'll see maybe as we go along and work on this, that it kind of, you'll be able to see as one part dries and the next part doesn't. I am just kind of, I like that this, being able to see different like pieces and bits hanging up there, like not straight, not anything like that. And I try to leave on some places a little white piece, showing at the top. I'm kind of looking at my example because there are a lot of petal pieces, and I really liked how this turned out. It wouldn't necessarily, definitely wouldn't have to be the same done all the time, but I just liked it to show you that way. These little center bits I just colored in. solid. Some of these little pieces I left a little white at the very end. Maybe they were catching some light. Just before I forget and color these in the whole way, I just wanted to do that. Now this one I did take most of the way over. And then I figured this would be darker underneath the lip of that. So I colored that in completely. And this way, I just figured as the petals went out a little bit further from that center, they'd be apart, they'd be getting some different lights, some different shadows. So that's how I chose to do mine, but you absolutely do yours however you would like. I figured that little cove in there is probably dark. Same way with over here. I know I did this piece solid again. I felt that would be underneath there. And the same way, it's not hard. It just takes a little bit of time. And then once you figure out like what places you're wanting to be a little darker or a little lighter, then that just makes it so much easier. Let's see, I am going to do this a little solid here for the underside of this. And I love this little, I just love this flower. I think it's a beautifully, it's very basic, very traditional. I'm pretty traditional, but I don't know. I get in moods where I like things a little bit off the beaten path too. So you never know. Let's turn this so I can, like I say, I kind of want this to be a little more organic, and it's kind of hard to do that. I admit, with so many ins and outs. But see, you can see here that difference between it looking blue and it looking purple. And you probably hear Milo playing with his new toy. We went to the pet store and got a few new pet toys because ours were kind of getting rough for little years of use. It was kind of a little bittersweet of how he came to be. Today would have been our sweet little Miller's 3rd birthday, and he passed away probably about 9-10 weeks ago now, very suddenly, right in front of us. And we're all still, just because we have Milo doesn't mean he's been replaced. It's not working that way. But we just definitely had a little hole in our heart that he left. And our other cat, we have a 15-year-old senior cat, and then we have McKinley, who's 7, and she is missing her friend something greatly. She's really had a hard time. And so we wanted to go ahead and, you know, I know it's no guarantee that they would play together and do well together, but I think that she is going to be really happy. And we are just so in love with little Milo already. So I just took the same Hydrangea U color, and we're just going to do the dark. Not trying to match anything up. And in fact, it looks like it's too straightness, but it blends together really nicely. You can always go back and add a little bit more in where you would like, but you can't take it away. So like I might even put a little more light over this, just because I kind of liked it when my strokes stayed, you know, I let the light ones go out a little bit further. And I just, again, just worked, and I wanted to color with this together with you here. We won't die cut together, but I just wanted you to see how I came to do mine. But like I say, that is the nice thing about stamping and crafting is just because it's one of those, I'm a rule follower, but this is one of those cases where sometimes you just need to do what you feel led to do, what takes you in a certain direction, what makes you happy, what you think. Maybe if you're making this with somebody in mind, what would make them happy? And it just, like I say, even though I am not doing anything to do blending with this together, it really, really is pretty. I'm going to do this center dark. And I think I even did that petal more than one time, but you know what? It's okay. It's going to look great. I'm going to go under this leaf just a little bit. Under this one, I might go ahead, just because this is such a pronounced little area there with the shading lines already in, I might go ahead and put those there. I could put a little bit here in this little divot. It's just fun. I think it's just such a pretty little thing. And I think I'm going to stop there. It just, like I say, I love it. It's really pretty. And it looks nice on the card. We're going to use a kind of similar technique here on this next flower. But we're going to do it just a little bit different. We're going to take the light hydrangea yew, and we're going to do these petals that would be probably a little more solid here on the other side. They're curling up from the back. And you know, in nature, it could be a totally different color than what's on the top. They're all created so differently, but I just chose to go with the same color. I am going to mostly roughly color this in here. And then I am just going to take this marker, and I am literally just doing some long strokes, kind of curved a little bit maybe, but you wouldn't have to. You do that how you would like to do it. And then I am also, let's maybe do a little bit out in here. We'll take the dark then. And for this one, I kind of like to use this. You can lightly do it with the tip of this nib. But if you're not light-handed with your touch, you could bend it. So you do what is comfortable in your hand and what you think would look great. I just like the skinnier, and we're just putting those in there. And then I am just taking across some of these little dark lines, nothing real hard and fast, and doing that like that. And I just think it's such a pretty thing. I didn't want to take time to die cut, but I did want to color one each. But now I won't have much coloring to do, and I'll go ahead and make another pass at this and add another layer, and then I can make another card. The designer series paper that I chose to use on this project is our new in color paper. This year, I love the change. They decided to, instead of, it's always been done in a 6x6 format before, they have changed it to 12x12. And I think that is a win all the way around. Scrapbookers want to use this too. And I think that is really great. I think these would make for some really cute layouts. But also for card makers, the piece I'm using today is 4x5 1/4. You can get 3 whole columns of 4-inch across, and just very little waste at the bottom. It would be what, 5 1/4, 5, it'd be 10 1/2. So you'd have just a little scrap left at the bottom that you could still use for other things. But I feel like 12 or like 6x6 paper is a waste. I just don't like to use that 2-inch strip on a lot of things. And so I like this a whole lot better. And it has the peaceful pine in a big dot and a stripe, little stripe, little stripe, or sorry, big stripe, little dot. And then that continues on. This is the hydrangea U. I love that piece. I think that especially is going to be great for scrapbook layouts. This is Golden Glow. This is Crisp Cantaloupe, which is my understanding it is a returning color from years past. It's a very pretty shade. It goes with a lot of things really well. And then this is called Barely Blush, and it is barely there. I pulled up to the same sheet, but it has the dot just like the other ones, but this one shows a little bit more with the white, but it's a very, very pretty print. And I need to get out a new Stampin' Seal, and I inadvertently, instead of refills, ordered the whole thing. You have the choice of both. You can either get a preloaded one if you don't want to deal with it, or you can get the refill. I had to buy an off-brand to do something, and I was like, I do not like that. I like to use seal on my designer series paper. If it's not going to be, I mean, I could have gotten away with this. I just like the way it looks. It's a thing for me. I hop all over on my adhesives for just different things. To me, it's the right tool for the right job. And of course, I can't find anything right now because, you know, you can imagine housing a, you know, very young kitten in a craft room. There's a lot of temptation going on here. And I've had to hide everything and put it way up and all the things. So we have our little bits here that we stamp. And I had done one of these and I thought, oh, maybe it was too crooked, but I actually don't think, after I've looked at it, I'm not going to waste it. So let's see, this piece is 3 by 4 1/4, and I will have these measurements on my blog post. And I am going to actually put this on with dimensionals on my base. I just took some seal or some tear and tape, I can't remember what I used, and we have the new hydrangea U. You know, we always do the ribbons in the in color, which you'll see the spool of it here in a minute. No saggy middles here. And I will have to be a little careful with my papers here today, maybe more so than usual. And I wouldn't even have to take all of these backings off because it's not going to go anywhere, especially if the outer 4 are uncovered. You know, you just want them there for the support more than anything in the middle. But I'm going to go ahead and take them off. And it's just going to go here in the center of my card. And you will notice that I had already, like I said, I had stamped it. Wasn't sure I loved it, but I used the Prayers and Promises stamp set. I just thought that this had a lot of really nice inside and outside things for your card and appropriate for a lot of situations. So I went ahead and did that. Here is our ribbon. Like I said, I didn't make my bow because I wasn't sure if I was going to use this or not. And let me even start it back a little bit further. I would rather have too much than too little, because let's be really, really honest. How many of us often, all the time, use up all of the ribbon on a spool? I know it has to be something like Christmas multiples or things like that. If I do, it's not a normal occasion for me to go through all of that. And I think I want to make this, like I say, I go between sometimes using a bow maker and sometimes just fussing it. This makes great ribbons, really nice bows, I should say. And this is probably even bigger than what I have on my example. And I am going to go ahead and cut that down. And I feel like it is very, very, very big, but sometimes you just have to go with what the ribbon is wanting to do too. Sometimes that is often the case. And I am going to do that. I like to put my bows on with glue dots. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on just so we can build around it. Now this would not have to be, as I said, my card might be a little fussier using this stamp set. That's stuck right to my fingernail, so we'll just put it on there. And we may use these. Yeah, that is very large. Let's rein this in a little bit. I think this is where I struggle the most, is what size bows do I want to put on? And this is caught probably on that glue dot in the back, but that's okay. Let's just see, or it just might be twisted. I think it's just twisted. Let's just see which way we can make that go. Sometimes we have to show it who's boss. There we go. And we'll trim that down later. I'm going to go ahead and start with some dimensionals again. And I'm going to put that big flower on. And I am, just so I can tuck, I am just starting with these two in the middle. I want this to go down under, and I want it to go over close, not necessarily touching, but I kind of want to go right into a curve here on that greeting. I'm going to take my two leaves. This is just how I found I like to put it together best, but you could absolutely do it some way different. I found that if my leaf placement wasn't where I wanted it to be, then it just didn't make me happy. So I'm going to start, and let's put one here, and then this one just overlapping it slightly and it coming off the top. That is how I really, really like this one. And this one, I just put one kind of a little higher up here. And then I tucked. And that kind of did a few things. It left that leaf show a little bit more. And it kind of kept the bottom down and gave that upper petal a little bit of lift. I may even scooch it down in a little bit more, even if I have to lift that one up a little bit. Let's do that. And my dimensional stuck down. So you just, however it works. It still is going to give that petal just a little bit of lift and dimension. So I liked that. And then these two, I don't like the large dimensional for that. I would like some of this. And I did go ahead and put that dimensional up here just so it didn't show. And one of these I liked tucked, and like I say, this is all a little fluid. I should have probably done this leaf placement because like I said, if the leaf didn't come out right, I didn't love it. So let's move our flower down just a hair. It doesn't always have to go the same way, but I liked something like that. And then I kind of just tucked in. I felt that it needed a little something there just for division and kind of just to bring that to a full grouping. I guess I kind of didn't even have that one petal showing. It just kind of went down in there. And I do like that. I don't like my bow, but you know what? On air bow tying is not my favorite thing. And so we're just, like I say, we're just gonna roll with it. And to finish off this project, I had an open pack, but as I said, packing everything away, I don't always know where things got put. But we have these wonderful, they are called In Color Butterflies, and they are so pretty. There is a difference here. It's the 5 in colors plus white. You really have to look close of which one is barely blush and which one is white. I am going to take a little one and put it kind of up here at the top. I'm going to take a big one here and put it there. And this one is stamped much higher than my other ones, but you know, you're not going to send them to the same person, so it doesn't really matter. And put that one down here. I'm going to take the bow off of this because it's going to drive me crazy and redo it. But I will show you. I'm going to move this one out of the way and show you the one I actually do like. And they've been packed away a little bit too, so they're a little bit not fluffy. I took a little piece of that large dot and made the envelope. And I just thought it was a pretty card. And then I had a little strip that I just put along the inside to finish that off. And so this is the Hydrangea U. Let's keep that here. Did one in all of the colors. Did one in the Golden Glow, which I love too. This one is the Barely Blush. This is the Crisp Cantaloupe. And then I didn't really want to do, you know, Peaceful Pine flowers, so I did the Golden Glow flowers because I thought it went nice with this color here. So pretty easily, I had 5 cards ready to go, but this could be just a layout that you could repeat with whatever stamps you have, whatever paper you have, whatever focal point image hit. You wouldn't have to do a ribbon at all. And you wouldn't have to put things up on dimensionals and so on. I just did it because I loved this set. I thought that it showed off the colors nicely, but it could be whatever designer series paper, what have you. But I hope that you can take this layout. I will have all the measurements. Like I say, there aren't a lot of them on my blog post, and those details will be in the description below this YouTube video. So as always, remember to be kind, send a card, and do something creative. Bye-bye.